After Meech and Terry's short stint in Atlanta, they were back in Detroit in episode 6, Homecoming. And they were not only back to re-establish BMF and take back the streets, but also settle some old beef with Lamar. Now, not only did this confirm that Meech and Terry were back on the same page, this also confirmed Terry's full commitment to BMF. As he said at the end of episode 5, he never left because once you taste the game, you never lose the sensation. But where Meech and Terry planned to set a trap and end Lamar for good with the help of the PA boys, which was one of their tasks in episode 6, because for as long as Lamar was around, they were in danger, and so were their family. Now, Lamar himself was causing terror with a new little friend and bodied anybody who came in his way, but arguably the biggest moment was B-Mickie's double life coming to an end because he could no longer handle the guilt. So with that being said, let's get into all things BMF Season 2, Episode 6. Now, we return to Detroit with Meech and Terry on the streets looking for blood, because they couldn't believe Lamar got close enough to the Flannery home where he could have caused some real damage. But thanks to Lucille, who showed how powerful a prayer really is, she remained unharmed. But even though Lucille escaped near death, Meech and Terry were strapped and they wanted to draw first blood, and in Terry's narration, it gave us an insight into where his mindset was while they were on the hunt for Lamar. The game challenges every single rule you set yourself, and sooner or later you're gonna have to break one of them, which is where Terry's state of mind was at this moment. He's gone from one extreme of not being in the game to the other. Now, Alvin warned Lamar that the Flannerys were out on the streets sending a clear message, but Lamar's not someone who hides from a fight. In fact, he's someone who thrives in battle, and he actually had the upper hand. The BMF crew was splintered because of the drug drought, and with Meech and Terry out in Atlanta, Lamar got control over the whole hood. Now, what made Soki's death real sad at the beginning of episode 6 was the fact he was supposed to drop his son off to basketball, but Lamar had other ideas, putting 2 rounds into the chest of Soki, and he was no more. Hoop was in disbelief, and so were the rest of the BMF. And so Lamar was proving to be a huge problem, not just because he's a threat to the lives of Meech, Terry, and everybody around them, but with Lamar on the streets, it's almost impossible for them to expand and concentrate on their business. Now, regardless of them knowing it was Lamar, there was no way they were snitching, and you could tell there was no love lost between Detective Bryant and Meech. Now, while the BMF lost a soldier, Lamar gained one.
Hey, bite me and I'ma bite you back.
I really wouldn't be surprised if Lamar did bite back, because that's exactly what he did to the owner. This crazy Lamar bit and spat his ear out. Just think about that for a moment. Lamar bit and spat his ear out. So Lamar's presence continues to bring fear amongst everybody in the street, which is why Meech had to make a play, and he did so by helping the PA boys during Soul's night by having their back. Now, at the end of episode 5, Terry made a clear choice. He was back in the game, and that's something Wanda actually accepted. He also fully commits when he tells his high school teacher and his parents at the same time he's not going to be returning to school to complete his education. Now, of course, this was always going to be a shock to Lucille and Charles because they're old school, but there was nothing they could do or say to change his mind. And Terry's return and full commitment to the BMF couldn't have come at a better time for Meech, especially because B-Mickie was MIA. Now, B-Mickie's been struggling ever since Detective Bryant told him that Kato was carrying his unborn baby when he pulled the trigger, and his nightmare may end up being a foreshadow of what's to come for B himself. This was a nightmare which was interrupted by Meech, and B-Mickie told him how Kato was carrying his seed. Now, as much as B was hurting, Meech got down to business because they locked in a new connect in Atlanta. But B-Mickie was never happy with how Terry just returned to the BMF and given the top spot back that B-Mickie held for so long. So let's continue with how B-Mickie's double life finally came to an end, because things only got worse when he agreed to trap Meech for Detective Bryant and Jin. Now, earlier in the episode, Detective Bryant took 2 bricks from the evidence room to bust Meech with, and with Jin looking on, she got down to the bottom of what he was up to, and she was all in because she wanted a win. So after Bryant lied to Jin about Kevin paging him, she followed him to B-Mickie's place, because she always had this trust issue knowing that Bryant was never fully honest with her with what he was up to, but now they were on the same page. Although 2 characters who weren't on the same page were Meech and B-Mickie, because they've not been seeing eye to eye for a while, which is why he agreed to wear a wire. Now, when Meech presented him with a burial spot for Kato and his mom's for whenever she passes, it changed B's mind.
I'm trying to show you how much I appreciate you, B, for everything.
This is the moment the game changed for B. He had this look of guilt and realized what he was doing was wrong, which is something he knew from the get-go. He knew he was backed into a corner, and whether he continued snitching or revealed the truth to Meech, there was only ever going to be one outcome. Now, after Meech told him that they were expanding and how he was getting his own territory, which made him his own boss, he was lost for words, because that's all he ever wanted from Meech. He wanted to feel appreciated, and he wanted that respect. So with tears coming down from B-Mickie's eyes, he made the decision to take his cap off and reveal the wire, and Meech was furious. He couldn't believe it. He took the product and went out the back, and B-Mickie followed while Detective Bryant and Jin burst into the recording store, but they were long gone. But with the drugs gone along with Meech, Bryant's plan failed, and all this time he's put in with his CI, it was all for nothing. Now, regardless of how sorry B was, Meech said there's always a choice. He had a choice, but he knew now he had to get out of Detroit, but he couldn't leave without saying his goodbyes to his sick mother. And this is the sad part. As much as B-Mickie is a snitch, he did so to protect his mother and give her the best possible care she could have in her final moments. Final moments which B may never get to spend with her, or just like me said, he can join them in the burial site where they could all be together. So let's see what happens in the aftermath after B was taken. Now, coming back to Lamar, Monique did warn Meech that Lamar lives and breathes this street shit, meaning if they were gonna get Lamar, they couldn't just use street logic. They had to go at him with an angle he wouldn't expect. And she was right. Lamar is definitely not no ordinary guy in the street. He's ruthless, and it's his way and only his way, which was reaffirmed when he made Alvin apologize to Blackie. But with the PA on his side, Meech thought he could bring down Lamar. But Monique did warn, you can't just go at Lamar as you normally do in the street. And notice similar to how if you called him crazy in season 1, he'd lose it. The same could be said if you called his dog a mutt. And so we saw him handle the 2 PA boys, knowing full well Meech sent them. So now Meech, Terry and the rest of the BMF as well as the PA boys better watch their backs. Now elsewhere, they had problems with their business after their new technique they learned in Atlanta, which allowed them to double their product. Whose customers came back not too happy that their customers were complaining about their weight not being right and how their high was too low. But not only that, with Saki now dead and this shit with Ding, he felt as if things were falling apart. But Meech did put it into perspective that Ding folded. He also made a visit to K9 for a re-up, but he overheard some issues that he was having with Cena, his Colombian connect. He owes him 20 million and he's not paying up. In fact, K9 said come and take it in blood. Now, not only is K9 crazy for not paying the Colombians what they're owed, but Meech sensed an opportunity to get to the plug himself. But Terry wasn't down because it's way too risky. Who knows what beef it could cause with K9, and that's the last thing they need with Lamar on the street. K9 and Lamar both after them. Now, romance was in the air for a few of our characters, but even though Terry and Markeisha were getting closer, Markeisha couldn't do it anymore because she needed to be financially secure, and that's something Terry can't give at this moment in time, which is why I think he may end up changing his mind on Meech's plan, especially after he finds out what Wanda and her mom are up to. She basically told her to be done with Terry. Now, keeping tabs on Terry and Markeisha was Detective Bryant and Jim, who sensed an opportunity.
If Terry is stepping out on his lady, maybe we can use that to manipulate the situation.
Very cunning, but smart. Now, romance also seemed to be in the air for Detective Bryant and Jin, as well as Charles coming back for round 2 with Maybelle, after things were finally started to get back on track with his relationship with Lucille. Lucille admitted that she thought he was having an affair with Sister Riley, and he called that crazy. He said he wasn't having an affair with Sister Riley, which to be fair to him was the truth, because he's actually having an affair with Maybelle. But at least he lasted longer this time round. But that's a breakdown of BMF Season 2 Episode 6, an episode where B-Mickie's double life was finally revealed, and one where a decision will have to be made on his fate. Meech has eyes to take the Colombian Connect and expand even further, but Lamar continues to be a problem on the street. Relationships are also taking a turn with Terry, Wanda, and Markeisha, and no doubt, Lucille and Charles will follow after his round 2 with Maybelle. So drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section on all things BMF Season 2 Episode 6. And of course, if you are new to the channel and you haven't done so already, then remember to smash the subscribe button if you want to see everything BMF and Power Universe related. But as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.